They say betrayal never comes from your enemies, it comes from the ones you love, the ones you trust, the ones you never see coming. The day my world shattered began as ordinarily as any other, with morning sunlight filtering gently through the bedroom curtains. I remember stretching lazily, feeling unusually content as I rolled over to find Adam's side of the bed empty but still warm. I smiled, thinking he'd probably gotten up early to surprise me with breakfast, something he'd done often in our 5 years of marriage. I glanced at the clock, 7:15 a.m., and sighed, grateful it was Saturday. No work, no rush, just a peaceful day to enjoy each other's company. But the peace I'd envisioned wouldn't last long. My phone buzzed gently on the nightstand. Sleepily, I reached out, expecting a text from Adam, maybe a playful hint about breakfast or plans for the day. But it wasn't Adam, it was a message from my sister, Lauren. I squinted at the screen, confused by the early hour. Lauren had always been my rock, older by 2 years, protective and wise. Yet lately, things had felt different, strained. She'd grown distant, quieter around me, avoiding eye contact at family dinners. I'd assumed she was dealing with something personal and had given her space. Perhaps she was finally reaching out to open up. The message was simple, yet it chilled me instantly. We need to talk. It's important. Meet me at the coffee shop. Don't tell Adam. My heart skipped. Why couldn't Adam know? He was as much Lauren's friend as mine, having become like family after so many years together. Uneasy, I dressed quickly, the fabric of my clothes feeling colder and heavier with every passing moment. Adam was nowhere to be found, no comforting clatter of dishes or aroma of coffee. The house was silent, eerily so, amplifying the anxiety twisting my stomach. As I walked into the cafe, the scent of coffee and baked goods felt oddly out of place against my nerves. Lauren sat in the corner, eyes shadowed and weary. The confident, radiant sister I'd always admired was replaced by someone haunted, hesitant. Her gaze met mine, filled with guilt, regret, and an unbearable sadness that made my knees weak. "Lauren, what's going on?" I asked softly, sliding into the seat opposite her. My hands trembled slightly as I set them on the table, afraid of what she was about to say. My mind raced, guessing at worst-case scenarios. Was she sick? In trouble? "There's no easy way to say this," Lauren began, her voice barely audible over the soft jazz playing in the background. "I've made a terrible mistake." She paused, swallowing hard. Her eyes brimmed with tears, making the pit in my stomach grow even larger. "I've been seeing Adam. We've been involved for months." The words felt surreal, floating towards me in a haze of disbelief. For a moment, time slowed. My heart stopped, then thundered violently in my chest. My breathing grew ragged. The cafe noises faded into silence, replaced by a roaring in my ears. Adam? My Adam? And Lauren, my sister, my confidant, my blood, betraying me? You and Adam? The words stumbled from my lips, clumsy and broken. "Lauren, how could you?" Her tears spilled freely now, matching my own. But instead of feeling compassion, rage surged hotly within me, a fiery wave of hurt and betrayal. The two people I loved most in the world had conspired behind my back, leaving me blind and foolish. "I'm sorry," Lauren whispered, her voice shaking. "I didn't plan this. Neither of us did. But we can't keep lying. It's not fair to you." Fairness. She spoke of fairness after destroying the very foundation of my trust and happiness. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor, drawing curious glances from other customers. "How dare you?" I choked out, tears blurring my vision. "Both of you." Outside, the morning air felt colder, harsher. My phone buzzed again, this time from Adam. "We need to talk." "I'm so sorry." I stared numbly at the screen. Sorry. The word felt meaningless, trivial in the wake of their betrayal. The tears fell unchecked now, matching the rain that began to drizzle from the sky, as if the heavens themselves mourned the collapse of my world. They say when betrayal comes from someone you love, it doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your spirit. And that's exactly what I felt as I stood outside in the rain, clutching my phone like a lifeline I wanted to throw away. I had never felt so alone, so humiliated, so discarded. I didn't go home right away. I walked for hours, past the bookstore where Adam had proposed, past the alley Lauren and I used to sneak through as kids, past every piece of my life that now felt stained. My shoes were soaked, my jacket useless against the chill creeping into my bones. But it wasn't the cold that hurt. It was the weight of the lies, the months of deception happening right under my nose while I baked cookies, paid bills, and kissed Adam goodnight. When I finally did go home, the apartment felt different. Not physically, but emotionally, like the air had been sucked out. Adam was waiting for me. He sat on the couch like a child in timeout, eyes red, fingers clasped tightly in his lap. I didn't speak. I didn't yell. I didn't have the strength. I just looked at him, really looked, and saw a stranger. "It just happened," he said, his voice hoarse. "We didn't mean for it to." "Don't," I cut him off, my voice trembling with restraint. "You don't accidentally cheat. You don't accidentally lie for months. You don't accidentally crawl into bed with my sister." His face crumpled, and maybe a part of me still wanted to comfort him, but that part was small now, suffocating under the mountain of pain. "I still love you," he whispered, as if that meant anything anymore. "Then you should have protected me," I spat. "You should have protected what we had." The silence that followed was deafening. I grabbed a suitcase from the closet, stuffing it with whatever I could find, socks, jeans, the sweatshirt I used to sleep in when I missed him. It didn't matter that it was my apartment, that my name was on the lease. I couldn't stay. Not now. Where are you going? He asked, standing suddenly. Someplace you've never been, I snapped. Someplace you can't ruin. I stayed with a friend for the next few days, Anna, my coworker. She didn't ask many questions, just handed me wine and fuzzy socks and held me while I broke down. I cried over the betrayal, yes, but more than that, I cried over the loss of my past. Every memory felt tainted now, like my entire marriage had been a lie wrapped in warm dinners and fake smiles. Lauren tried calling. I didn't answer. She sent long texts, voice messages filled with sobs and apologies. She said Adam told her he was leaving me, that he and I had grown distant, that it wasn't as serious as it looked. Lies stacked upon lies, like a tower just waiting to collapse. I saved every message. I didn't delete a single one. Because part of me wanted proof. Proof that I hadn't imagined it, that the pain was real, that I wasn't just overreacting. But another part of me knew the truth didn't need documentation. I felt it in my gut every time I closed my eyes. Then came the final slap to the face, a photo on social media. Lauren and Adam. At a restaurant. Laughing. Like they hadn't just gutted me weeks earlier. Like they were free now, unburdened, happy. My hand shook as I stared at the screen. Comments poured in, you two are so cute. Finally. Power couple. I wanted to scream. To shatter the screen. To scream at every idiot who thought they were witnessing a love story when it was really a tragedy written in my blood. I typed out a comment. Glad you're both so happy after tearing my life apart. I didn't post it. I just stared at it. Then I deleted it. Because I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of knowing they still had power over me. Instead, I picked up my journal and wrote a single line, they stole my peace, but I will rebuild it from the rubble. And that was the day I decided I would not be their victim. I would become their consequence. They say healing isn't linear, but no one warns you how much worse it gets before it gets better. For every moment of clarity I gained, there were hours of darkness pulling me back into the memory of what they did. And every time I saw their faces, on my feed, in my nightmares, I felt that knife twist again. But rage? Rage started to become a kind of fuel. 3 weeks after I left Adam, I returned to the apartment, not to move back in, but to retrieve the last of my things. He wasn't home, and I was grateful. I didn't want another round of pitiful eyes and meaningless apologies. I just wanted to collect what remained of the woman I used to be and get the hell out. But when I walked into the living room, I froze. There was a new photo on the mantel, Adam and Lauren, arms wrapped around each other, grinning like teenagers. My heart didn't break. It hardened. I grabbed the frame and threw it across the room, the glass shattering like every promise they'd ever made me. I wasn't sorry. While I packed, I found a letter Adam had scribbled and never sent. It was buried in his desk drawer, half-finished, full of apologies and regret and justifications. You were distant. I felt unwanted. Lauren understood me. It was a coward's lullaby. No accountability. Just excuses disguised as sorrow. I crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash. Later that week, my mom invited me to dinner. She was hosting a small family gathering, something normal to distract from the chaos. I hadn't told her the whole story. She knew about the split, not the betrayal. But I needed support, not judgment. So I went. I wish I hadn't. Lauren was there. The audacity. The complete lack of shame. She walked in with Adam like they hadn't demolished me just weeks before. My mom's eyes widened, and she looked between us, clearly horrified. Lauren said nothing. Adam gave me a slight nod, as if we were just acquaintances, not war veterans from the same bloody battlefield. I stood up. Calmly. Quietly. And I left. Outside, I called my mom. I won't come back if they're there, I said, my voice shaking with restraint. That wasn't a dinner. That was an ambush. She cried. Said she didn't know. Said Lauren didn't tell her Adam was coming. I didn't care. The damage was done. That night, I blocked them both. Phone, socials, everything. I needed air. Distance. I needed to learn how to breathe without checking to see if I was bleeding. And slowly, the world started to feel manageable again. I went to therapy. I journaled. I redecorated the spare room in Anna's house into a studio space where I could paint again. Colors began returning to my life, shades I hadn't felt in weeks. But peace is always interrupted when people can't leave well enough alone. One morning, Anna handed me her phone. You need to see this. It was Lauren's post. A long, self-pitying essay about how mistakes don't define us and true love is messy. How she never meant to hurt anyone but had found happiness in unexpected places. Comments flooded in, some supportive, others not. But one caught my eye. Didn't you steal your sister's husband? Lauren replied, they were already falling apart. I was just the truth no one wanted to see. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I truly laughed. Bitter, yes, but real. Because if gaslighting were an Olympic sport, Lauren would have taken gold. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her lies were already unraveling. People weren't buying it anymore. Her image was cracking, and underneath, they were starting to see what I had known all along. She wasn't sorry. She was just scared of consequences. And that was when I decided I wasn't done. Not yet. If they wanted to play games, I'd play too. But I'd play smarter. So I did. I gathered every text, every voicemail, every screenshot. I crafted a timeline, not out of revenge, but out of justice. I didn't need to scream. I just needed to show the truth. I created a blog. Anonymous. Factual. I told my story, beginning to end, with receipts to back every word. I didn't name them, but it didn't take long for mutuals to connect the dots. It wasn't petty, it was honest. It was cathartic. The blog exploded overnight. Shared on forums, reposted by influencers, even covered by a podcast. Strangers messaged me with their own stories of betrayal. People began unfollowing Lauren. Their picture-perfect couple facade started cracking under public scrutiny. But I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I started rebuilding. I got my own apartment, small, cozy, filled with sunlight and books. I repainted the walls in soft blues and greens. I hung photos that reminded me of strength, not pain. I planted herbs in the kitchen window. I cooked for one, and loved it. Therapy helped me unpack the trauma, helped me reframe what love should look like. It wasn't manipulation and guilt. It was safety and respect. Months passed. Seasons changed. And then, one morning, I got a letter. Handwritten. From Lauren. I lost you. I lost everything. I thought I had found love, but I was just chasing validation. I know sorry isn't enough, but I needed you to hear it from me. I am so sorry. I read it twice. Then I folded it and put it away. Because forgiveness isn't something you do for others. It's something you do for yourself. And I was already free. Adam? He tried to message me too. Said Lauren had moved out. That he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. That he missed me. I blocked him again. Because healing had taught me something powerful. Not every apology deserves an audience. Not every chapter needs a sequel. I walked away from that story bruised, but not broken. And in the silence that followed, I wrote a new one. One where I am the hero. One where I choose me. And this time? No one gets to rewrite it but me. They thought I would break. That I'd crumble in the wreckage they left behind. But betrayal doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. And in the weeks that followed Lauren's confession and Adam's silence, I came face to face with a version of myself I didn't know existed. The woman who had once bent over backward to keep peace, to be the perfect wife, the understanding sister, the forgiving friend, she was gone. What remained was someone raw, bruised, but burning with clarity. I moved out that night. I didn't tell Adam. I didn't scream or cry or beg him to explain. I left the keys on the counter, packed only what I needed, and vanished into the city lights like a ghost reclaiming her story. The messages came, of course. First, Adam begging to talk. Then Lauren, trying to justify. Eventually, mutual friends started chiming in, some shocked, some disappointed, some choosing sides. But I stayed silent. I owed them nothing. Not anymore. What haunted me most wasn't the affair, it was the ease with which they betrayed me. The casual way they walked hand in hand across the fragile trust I'd spent years building. The night I left, I booked a small Airbnb on the other side of town. I sat on a too-firm couch, watching city lights flicker through rain-streaked windows, and I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. But because I refused to waste one more tear on people who treated my heart like an afterthought. I started therapy. I didn't even tell my closest friends at first. I just walked into that quiet room, sat across from a kind stranger, and poured out years of suppressed doubt, neglected needs, and ignored instincts. I spoke about the way Lauren always got what she wanted. About the way Adam stopped looking at me like I was the sun and started treating me like a convenience. And how I ignored every red flag because I wanted to believe that love, real love, was enough. It's not your fault, my therapist told me gently. But now, it's your choice what you do with the truth. That truth became my power. Months passed. I cut them out completely. I changed my number. Blocked them on everything. My silence was louder than any argument could have been. I focused on rebuilding, therapy, journaling, long walks, solo dates. I bought myself flowers every week. I dyed my hair a bold auburn, like a phoenix rising from soot. I took myself to the beach one weekend and screamed into the waves, not out of pain, but release. And slowly, I started breathing again. Deep, full breaths. Then, just when life had started feeling steady again, it happened. I ran into Lauren at a bookstore. Her hair was unkempt, eyes hollow, a shadow of the confident sister I once knew. She looked surprised, almost scared. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly, voice cracking. I nodded, not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I wanted closure. We sat on a bench outside, and she started crying almost immediately. Adam left, she said. He said he wasn't happy. That he made a mistake. A bitter part of me almost laughed. Instead, I just stared at her, this woman who once held my trust like sacred glass and chose to drop it. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. Not just for what happened, but for who I became. Her apology was sincere, but it didn't land the way she hoped. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I'd already forgiven her. Quietly. Alone. Long before that day. But forgiveness isn't always a bridge, it's a boundary. I don't hate you, I said calmly. But I don't trust you either. And I don't think I ever will again. She nodded, defeated. We parted without a hug. No dramatic goodbye. Just two people who once called each other family now walking different directions, each carrying the weight of their choices. Adam tried once more. He emailed me, a long, rambling apology, full of "I wasn't thinking" and "I miss what we had." I didn't respond. I forwarded it to my trash, took a deep breath, and lit a candle. It was lavender-scented. Peaceful. Final. Now, nearly a year later, my life doesn't look like it used to, and thank God for that. I live in a sunlit apartment with books stacked in corners and plants on every windowsill. I started painting again. I travel. I laugh louder, cry less, and sleep deeper. Some nights, I still think about the girl I used to be, the version of me who begged for crumbs of affection, who questioned her worth because two people she loved treated her like collateral damage. But that girl? She's gone. I am not the woman who got betrayed. I am the woman who survived it. Who rebuilt from ash. Who didn't let the wreckage define her. So if you're reading this, whoever you are, whatever pain you're carrying, please know this. You can rise. You can heal. You can walk away from the fire not just alive, but reborn. Because sometimes, losing everything is what finally sets you free.